recording, and that could have been a blooper reel right there.
Perfect. Damn it.
That was awesome.
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 62 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL, and I'm with my main man, Bill at Super Dupaflex. Bill, how you doing today?
Man, doing good. Happy to be in the off-season full swing, not thinking about fantasy football for a minute. We just learned that the Falcons are actually in the NFC, so the show is starting to roll.
The breaking news banner. Oh, hold on, the breaking news banner, because that's something I didn't know either. What? You're telling me? Wait, the Atlanta Falcons? Oof, wow. So see, we're learning. See, that's what we're here for. We're here to learn and to teach.
And they're not in the NFC West either. They're in the South, which you would think. Okay, yeah.
Wow. I mean, mind
that
blown.
was a good division, I thought.
That's why Atlanta's not in it.
Makes sense.
So you're hearing two very sexy voices, and I'm going to introduce these good-looking men for y'all.
We're back to this.
Yeah, we're back to this, Bill. We got Scott Sidlo at Scott_Sidlo and Justin Rogers at RunDFF. Fellas, how you guys doing?
Oh, we are doing amazing. We know our geography. We know our conferences. I mean, we're off to a hell of a start tonight.
Nailing it. They don't call us the B team for nothing, Scott.
Damn right.
That's right. And
but the A team in our hearts.
That's a disparaging name. You are like the 1B team. Like you know.
You know what? I'll take 1B.
It's like Calvin and Julio. There's a 1A and a 1B. I'm gonna let everyone decide that for themselves because I'm not going
to back in the wrong order. Golly. You see this Julio shirt? I'm not wearing this because oh God.
I was gonna say we're Julio, right?
I'm Julio. I'm Julio.
No, you're Justin. You're Justin.
Yes, Julio is a better wide receiver
I'm Julio
than
when I
Calvin,
go down south.
and this is a Lions fan saying that.
Yeah, and then we have
Calvin's more dominant, but
Calvin
Julio's a better
has
receiver.
Yeah, Calvin has a long way to go to reach what Julio has done in his career. So let's just pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see some more. Let's see about 6 more seasons like what we saw this year from Calvin, and then we'll discuss. So.
Oh no, you're thinking of Calvin Ridley. We're talking about Calvin Johnson.
Ooh. Well, I'm Brian Finneran, so we'll just leave it at that.
There we go.
Wow. See, and I said I didn't want to get into it, and we got into it anyway. So
I'm not even sure what we're getting into. So
I don't know. There was somehow a Calvin Julio argument, even though I didn't say who was 1A and 1B. I wanted everyone to decide that for themselves. But
yeah, but now me and Bill are trying to figure out which Calvin we're talking about.
Yeah, like you and I were speaking different languages right there. I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, that's the theme for the fantasy timeline. We have no idea what's happening. That should actually be our motto.
That could be. I'm going to put that on our logo.
Put that on some shirts. Fantasy timeline.
Hell yeah.
I think Russ can get that in the shop in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know what the hell's happening.
He probably could, because that's what Russ does. We love you, Russ. All right, so there's not any news because there's not really anything going on. I mean, everybody saw the games. Everybody loved, the Browns making it one more week. Buffalo doing a thing. You guys know who won and lost. Here's a question though: did anybody watch the Nickelodeon stream of the Saints and the Bears?
Can't say that I did.
I did not, but I do know where you're going with this. At least I feel like you.
I did not watch it, but I heard actually positive reviews of it.
So honestly, like my son is 7. He watches like the first 5 minutes of an Eagles game, and then he's like out. He's like, I'm gonna go play.
That's like everybody,
right? Like that's true. But even when they play good teams, okay, even when they play good teams, he does that. Which is cool. He's 7. Like, no 7-year-old really has the attention span for that. But I told him it was on Nickelodeon, and he was like obsessed. They had like the characters on at certain times. They had like Snapchat filters on some of the players' faces that gave them like hamburger heads and stuff. So, I mean, they actually did a really good job of like bringing younger kids into the game, which obviously is like what the plan was. And then the slime cannons going off every time they scored a touchdown was actually pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see them doing that more than like one game a season, but I feel like this is probably going to be something that the NFL ends up doing every season now.
So you're telling me, like, was the slime cannon like real, or was it like a cartoon, like animation?
It was like a CGI thing, kind of like the first down line that's kind of superimposed onto the field. It was kind of a deal like that. So
yeah,
but it was still pretty cool. I mean, and then obviously Cordero Patterson with the non-Nickelodeon verbiage after a play.
Oh boy,
the first F-bomb ever on Nickelodeon, I believe.
Yeah, probably on air. I'm sure they're throwing them things off air all the time, but yeah, on air.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised Roger didn't have like a 72-page single-space detailed agreement of what you were supposed to do during that game. Obviously, Cordero didn't care and booted that thing into the trash as soon as he got it. But
hey man, he claimed that he didn't do it. Just saying.
Listen,
# that wasn't me.
Allegedly.
Anytime I get in trouble, I go, that wasn't me. But we saw
you're like Shaggy, huh?
Every time. My wife was like, why didn't you do that? I was like, no, I did do that. She's like, no, like I'm looking at what you didn't do right now. I'm like, wasn't me. Sorry. Gotta blame someone else. You gotta turn it around on people. You can't just go down with the shit. That's what Cordero did, and I appreciate him. So all right, so that was about as much into the news as we're gonna get. So we're gonna go right to what we saw on the timeline because that's what we do. And this first one is from Commissioner Breeze at McBreeze11. All right, random fact. Name a random fact people will be surprised to know about you. So since we have some guests in the house, Justin, why don't you start us off? Random fact, something that people don't know about you.
All right. So I love Halloween. I love dressing up. I would do if someone did costume parties anytime, whatever, I'm there. Like when I lived out west in Yellowstone for a while. Employees did costume parties like every other week, it seemed like. And my favorite costume, Quail Man. I made a Quail Man costume. Straight up bought some whitey tighties to throw on the outside. Put the belt on the forehead. I was ready to roll. So
wait a minute. You dressed as Quail Man and you're telling me you did not watch the Nickelodeon feed of that game? What is going on? Stay on brand, Justin.
I don't even know what that is. So this is the old guy.
And Patty Mayonnaise? You don't. Oh, come on. Bill, how old are you? 20?
No.
I'm the other way, man. I'm 45, brother.
You should totally know what it is.
Yeah, you should know. I mean, you're not that old.
I'm pretty old.
You're not that old.
I mean, you're closer to my age than Scott is to me. So, I mean, you're not that old. I don't know how old Josh is. So.
He's 85.
Yeah.
I just have good skin. All right, Scott, random fact. What is one thing people wouldn't know about you?
I guess I don't know if I mentioned this before anywhere, but I am an officiant. Like I officiate weddings.
Oh.
So yeah. Or I've done one so far. I did my brother-in-law's. They asked me to. So yeah. That's it was weird. It was different. I'm not sure if I'll ever do it again. But I am an officiant. It's official.
So follow up on that. Like, did you get ordained or whatever online?
Yes, I did.
Well done.
That's the way awesome. I did it. Yes, sir.
What is there a is it like a legal thing, or is it a you have to do it through like a church site or something like that?
Correct. Yeah, it was through whatever. Yeah, it was like an online, like think of like an online college, right? But it's like an online church that offers the program, and you just sign up for it and do it. It's not a big deal at all, really. But yeah, then you get a little certificate, and it says you're officially official, and you can officiate. And yeah, that's that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man.
So anybody that needs a cheap officiant,
Whoa.
at Scott_Sidlow.
You
Listen.
don't know if Scott is cheap.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you're making
Cost of
assumptions.
living in Chicago.
Here's
He's trading in
here's how it
price.
works, guys. If you're listening to this podcast, then the way that you get me to officiate your wedding, whatever city you're in, I have a goal of getting to every NFL stadium. So all you got to do is fly the 4 of us out and get us tickets to a game, and that's it. I'll officiate your wedding, and then all 4 of us are coming to your wedding too. So,
Oh man, that's gonna be awesome.
Better
Oh,
be open
But-
bar.
by the way, if you use the
Better be.
promo code Fantasy Timeline, you get 20% off.
Make sure you tell them where you saw it, where you found it.
boom.
All right, Bill. What is the random fact that people wouldn't know about you?
I was trying to think about this. I know I've probably said it before on the show, but I was a intercollegiate bowler for Michigan State.
Ooh.
So that was my
Martins.
yep.
D1, baby.
Damn.
Yeah, so that was my
What was your average?
well, back then I was a lot better than I am now because that was like many moon ago. Probably that I was in the probably 220s to 230 range.
I thought that's all you had to beat to get on like the PBA or whatever,
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
that's what you have to do to be on. Like I have
or
plenty of
minimum.
friends that have bowl on tour, but
Really?
yeah, I was not good enough to bowl on tour.
That's nuts, man. I spent all my time gambling in the bowling league, where you get, a spare and you get a card and you get a strike and
Yeah,
you
you
get
get
2
the
cards and I
X-rated
was
card,
running up and
yeah.
down hustling. So I didn't even remember bowling, but it was fun.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
And if you fly Bill out to bowl with you, promo code, we have no idea what's happening. Bill will come and bowl with you. So we got that going on.
He's got that nationwide discount across the states.
That's
all
right.
bowling alleys.
You fly me. So here's a fun fact about me. This literally just happened to me, and I thought I would share it with you guys. So I got a the little follower thing popped up on my Twitter, and I like to check those things out, see if I know who the person is, or maybe don't know who the person is. Met a lot of cool people through that. So it's a female. I won't give her name or her handle, and
From
The-
Russia.
no.
Don't share her nudes. Don't do any of that stuff.
This is the funniest part about it. So her pinned tweet is like, "Why don't you come play this online sex game?" And I go, "All right, definitely a bot, whatever." Like,
But I'm gonna check this shit out.
No, because then my phone will like burn to a crisp, and I'm gonna have to go out and get a new phone. So I didn't do that. But I'm like, "Oh, this is a bot." Like, but it has 217 followers, so I'm like, that's kind of high for a bot. Everything else is like real posts. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen because usually,
someone got hacked.
I mean, maybe,
And by
but
hacked, I mean they clicked a random email and gave their mess away. So,
and I'm just like, wow. Like, I definitely thought it was a bot. I was, like obviously, pin tweet is naked pics. I'm like, it's a bot. Whatever happens to us all. But
That's fun.
Two Drink is my brother. He knows me. He's like, yeah, he clicked so fast. I mean, Two Drink were brothers, so I
His
did.
mouse,
but
his
He
mouse
was in-
broke.
he put
He's
it
using the
in private
pad now
mode
on
so that
his
he could,
keyboard.
Yeah. He's like,
For-
let me go on private mode so the cookies don't track.
That's why you do it on your phone, brother, so no one can see what you're doing, man. Phone. That's what I use. But let's see. Thing that people wouldn't know about me. God, I don't know. I guess I'll just repeat the one I used on Super Flexperts in case people never heard it. I'm a big anime fan. So, thing that most people would see me and probably not put that together, but yeah, I'm big into it. Obviously, I got 3 little ones now, so I'm not as into it as I used to be, but I still can catch my my show here and there just to keep on in the loop. So all right, we did that. We all talked about each other. Oh, now I know where it came from. Two Drink. Oh, Two Drink. You killing me, man. You're sending me links that I'll click on and then, burn my phone to a crisp. But All right, let's
That's a hidden link to Parlor is what it was. You're on a no-fly list now.
You're on a list now.
Hey, you know what? Joke's on them. I don't fly anywhere anyway. So, all right. So we're gonna get into the real deal now. The reason why we brought the great fantasy minds onto the show. So this first one is from Fantasy Football Hotline at Hotline Fantasy. It's probably where that girl's hanging out right now.
That's
on the
exactly
hotline.
where
No
he's hanging out.
doubt.
Rank these running backs in the order you would draft them next year: Miles Sanders, CEH, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and Antonio Gibson. So, Bill, why don't you start? Why don't you get these 5 guys and put them in the order you would draft them in?
Yeah, I haven't really thought. I'm the one that put this on the show sheet, and I haven't thought about this at all. My initial thought is J.K. Dobbins. Probably Miles Sanders, then DeAndre Swift, then CEH, then Gibson.
Okay.
But I just know, like, I like the fact that Baltimore is, pretty much a run first team. So that's the one for me that I feel most comfortable going into the season this year with him, because we've seen as things have progressed throughout the season that he's getting more touches all the time. The rest of the guys are kind of a hodgepodge. Like, I can't blame really anyone for mixing those guys up. I can't blame you for any of those. That's kind of the reason I put this, because I had no idea what the answer was. So,
so here you go. Now we're gonna throw a twist on it from 2 Drink.
James Robinson, he's probably further up the board than he's probably in the 3 to 4 range in that list. Like, if we made it 6, for me, but. Yeah, I'd probably take Swift over him just because I'm a Lions fan, but that's just a pure bias thing. But yeah, that's interesting. How about you, Josh?
All right, so let's pull up the list here. So I think I would go Swift, Dobbins, Gibson, Sanders, CH, and then if I throw James Robinson on there, I would probably take Robinson after Dobbins, so number 3. And I actually feel a little bad doing that because James Robinson has just been so good that I actually feel a little bad taking him after Swift. But I think if Swift stays healthy, he's just going to be a monster. So, yeah, that would be my list. Scott, what about you?
Are we assuming nothing changes? Because everything's changing. We're
Well,
going to have a new offense in Philly. We're going to have a new offense in Detroit. We're going to have, Gus Edwards is restricted free agent in Baltimore there, and he's a career 5+ yard per rush guy. Super consistent, by the way. If you look at his numbers, it's unbelievable. AG, I think we kind of know, but who's going to be the quarterback? And then James Robinson, we're talking a whole new offense. So man,
damn it, Scott, why you gotta make
it's
it
a startup. It's a startup right now, so you don't know the answer to the question.
All right, it's right now today. I'm gonna go Swift actually, just because Peterson's gonna be gone, right? And Carrion can't stay healthy. His knees are donezo. I'm still gonna roll with Miles Sanders there, just because I gotta assume they're gonna use him. He's the most talented.
Don't you dare put my list together. Don't you dare put my list together 1 through 5 and make me irrelevant.
I'm doing it. We don't need you on this one. All right, it's gonna be actually no. We're gonna have a flip here because I'm gonna put Dobbins 3rd, just because they run so much, and then I'll go Gibson and CEH for now. So we flipped the last 2, right?
We did. We flipped the last.
Where's James Robinson?
Okay. All right.
Where do you got James Robinson, Scott?
Okay. So I would actually probably put him. I probably one, right? I mean, he's the only guy there. Every one of these guys is competition. So if we're talking right now today, I'll put him one.
I dig it.
Is this the hot sauce of the timeline? Because you came with some spice there. I'm just saying.
Fire!
I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the guts. Scott had.
I don't have the guts to do it. That's for sure. I got Swift one. And I got Sanders and Dobbins. So Scott and I were the same. And then if J. Rob was included, I would put him there at 4. But then I have CEH and Gibson. I weigh in the receiving more than some other people do. And I mean, I don't know what happened. I thought Gibson was going to be part of the pass game, and they did not use him at all in that role. Not like they should have. J.D. McKissick with like 700 targets and Gibson getting 1 or 2 a game. I mean, it was brutal. And then CEH, that the Chiefs just don't pass to the running back. Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to throw short. He's got 2 incredible weapons with Kelsey and Tyreek. Why is he going to throw 4 yards to the running back when he can throw 25 yards downfield and let his guy run the rest of the way? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So they don't pass to the running back.
So basically, we have like a consent, or like maybe the group ratings would be like Swift, probably
Dobbins,
and then maybe a split between Sanders and Robinson.
Yeah, it's probably
and then
about that.
CEH and then Gibson.
Yeah,
It's somewhere like that. Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear with 4 out of 5, or 3 out of 4 of us. Don't tell me to do math right now. That Swift is the top back in this group. So
and only the Lions fan,
right,
said that Swift couldn't be number 1. He doesn't want to put that evil.
That
on
shows
his guy.
you how much they've destroyed my heart. My heart is so black. It is just like coal. So I'll never okay, I'm going to give a short story. When I was in Green Bay one time, I went to Lambeau. It was my first visit ever. It's one of those things you got to do, bucket list kind of thing. And it's November, middle of November. Lions are playing. And it's like 75 degrees. So we already know something's not right in the world. And the Lions are up, I think, like 13 or something like that. And I'm like, all right, it's the 4th quarter. These people are booing Green Bay. And they're telling me they would trade Rogers for Stafford straight up. I'm like, you guys are literally the worst fans in the history of football. Like, the fact that you're even saying that, you're such poor sports. Like, you just don't understand how good you have it. So I tell them exactly how this game's going to play out. Green Bay's going to go down, score. The Lions are going to, turn the ball over. This is going to happen. I'm telling them everything the Lions are going to do wrong to blow this lead. And then onside kick, recover by Green Bay. Green Bay's going to drive down, kick a field goal, win. Every single thing happened. And people are looking at me like I am Nostradamus. And then the kicker for Green Bay slipped when he went to kick and missed the field goal. That was the only thing that went wrong. Like, this jaded Lions fan had the whole thing played out. Like, I literally wrote a book on what was going to happen. And moisture ruined my story. Usually it's the opposite.
Wow.
Well,
I didn't know to go with that one.
That's being a Lions fan, kids.
Usually I have a little
And Michigan State. So what?
A segue, but after that, I mean, I guess we'll just go to the next.
You know what it is? He dried up that story, and it's time to move on to the next.
Yeah. It's got no traction anymore.
We're all just sad now.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna get happy again. This is
I'm sorry, guys.
From the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan McDowell at.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. Who has? At Ryan MC23, top 5 dynasty QBs per January DLF ADP. Mahomes, Murray, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson. So, are you guys cool with that top 5? And if you're not, who are you throwing in and who are you kicking out? Justin, why don't we start with you? I know you're going to throw Matt Ryan in there, so let's just get it out of the way so we can all move
Matt
on.
Ryan 101, and then let's figure out which one we're going to kick out. No, I can't even I got nothing because I posted about a week and a half ago on Twitter my top 10 at each position, early off season, and that was my top 5. Not in that order, but that was my top 5. I think it's pretty clear. I've got Herbert 6, and I think there's a tier gap there. So. I mean, yeah, I'll take.
What about Dak? Where do you have Dak?
That's who I have on mine.
That's me too.
Well, I know you do, Josh. That doesn't count.
Right.
I
right.
mean, it doesn't mean I'm wrong though.
True.
I think I had Dak 8. Yeah, I had Dak 8. So I got Trevor Lawrence in front of him.
The disrespect on Dak's name.
And you know what's funny is
Who
I
is
acquired
6?
Dak
Russ?
this season. No, Herbert. I've got Russ down at 10. I got my 6 through 10 goes Herbert, Lawrence, Dak, Burrow, Wilson. I just don't want to have to start Wilson every week because I've been there, done that, been burned too many times, both redraft and dynasty. Man, you get those big weeks, but then you get the 13-point weeks far too often. It feels like you're running out Jared Goff half the season.
You can't own him in single quarterback leagues. You just can't.
No, You absolutely. He is the perfect best ball quarterback.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about when you're going to start him. These other guys, they have floors. You're not going to get 12 points multiple times a year from, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. You might get 1 or 2 of those games, but you get quite a few from Wilson, unfortunately. So, and plus his age, he's a little older than everyone else on that list.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
What about you, Scott? Are you throwing anybody in? You kicking anybody out?
Yeah, as much as I love Herbert and he made me look really good with my rankings this year, I can't quite put him ahead of these guys. I know everybody's so disappointed or whatever by Lamar, but it's God, he has such a high floor, and that rushing just keeps him so relevant. So Dak is the only guy that I would consider, but I can't move any one of these guys out. Watson right now is really interesting to me because I don't know if you guys have been reading these stories coming out of Houston, this whole Game of Thrones reference with this guy. Man, this is some crazy stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen in that organization, but apparently it doesn't matter. The guy just balls out, and Dak coming off the injury with kind of an unsure future. I guess I couldn't put him in over any one of those guys. So I would move the order around maybe a little bit, but I would have these 5 pretty solidly.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, man. The Deshaun Watson thing is so interesting. Now Andre Johnson is speaking out and talking about what a shit show it is in Houston. When maybe your franchise's best player to this point is saying that, as long as Easterby is there, nothing is ever going to change and it's going to be the same old dysfunction. That's not good. And he worked in the front office as well, so it's not.
He's working on the coaching and GM search right now.
Yeah,
he's literally consulting with the owner, and he said that. That's crazy. That tells you.
And I love that you brought that up because I read a story that apparently the Texans spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to a search firm for and they just hired the guy they wanted to hire 2 years ago.
They
tampered with. Yeah,
they ignored that altogether. Oh well, thanks for stopping by. Here's your check, and we're gonna do something else.
If you wanted to waste a few $100,000, and I'm gonna reframe that because the next part is gonna make me sound heartless. If you wanted to spend a few $100,000, I'm sure there were tons of underprivileged children in Houston that could use that money for a whole lot of good. Since you knew who the hell you wanted to hire anyway, just hire the guy, save yourself the money, put it to some good charities, and move on with your life.
I know at least 4 podcasters that could deal with a little bit of extra income. Just saying.
Hell yeah.
Listen, Houston Texans management, Justin brings up a very good point. Do you want 4 guys that kind of know football, can't do much worse than Bill O'Brien. Hire us at a fraction of the price. We'll all move to Houston.
I already lived there before. I know the city. I have lots of people there. I mean, let's do this.
Scott can tell us what area to live in. We're good.
Absolutely.
I like Texas. Texas is fine. Look, it's only like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to the ocean. You can get down there to the Gulf. It's not the ocean, but to the Gulf to do some fishing.
To the ocean.
Listen,
right?
Yeah. All these guys bring up great points. I will smooth things over with JJ Watt because apparently he hates all you guys too. Me and JJ will go out, get some barbecue, just talk shit on all you guys. He'll be happy, he'll be motivated, and let's go.
That sounds good. I get talked shit about all the time. Like people talk shit about me all the time.
It's
nothing
true.
new there.
We were until you showed up.
Right, exactly. I was late to the party, and yeah.
Why do you think I got here first?
It got real quiet when I logged in.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Justin.
Ooh, we didn't know how much you heard, you know?
So, all right, Bill, are you kicking anybody out of the list? Are you adding anybody to the list? What are you doing here?
I mean, it's hard to like move any of these guys out just because they're such rushers. You know, everybody's mobile. I mean, Dak's the one guy I think that at least deserves honorable mention. But just the unknown with him is probably the biggest issue. So, I mean, I can't fault it. But I think there could be any level of, you could probably argue any of the top 8 guys being in that top 5. But, like, I think these are the probably for sure the consensus top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm with you guys. I would put Dak in, and it's like, well, all right, then who do you kick out? And it's like, I guess you kick out Lamar just because he doesn't throw as much, but it's like, I don't even feel good saying that because it's like, we all know what Lamar can do on any given Sunday. We saw it against the Titans this past Sunday. They played on Sunday, right? Yeah, I think so. No, they played on Saturday. You know, we saw what he's capable of when he is on his game, but I think his passing volume is lower than the rest of those guys. So I guess he would be the guy I'd kick out, but I wouldn't feel good about it. But I do feel like Dak should be in the top 5. So I guess if I had to make the hard choice, that's what it is. But yeah, obviously if you are playing super flex and you have any one of these guys on your team, you feel pretty good about it. I did a startup last year, and I actually have Deshaun and Josh Allen. So, you know, feel pretty good about that. But
so just a follow-up on that with Lamar. Like, so many people were, like, down on Lamar. You know, I mean, I know he picked it up towards the end of the season, and everybody, like, kind of, like, he was a lot of people's bust for the season, but he finished, like, QB 8. So, like, if you look at, like, how poorly he played, quote-unquote poorly he played for the season, and he finishes QB 8, like, I mean, that's probably his, like, that's probably the basement, floor, right? Like, that's probably his floor as to what he can do. So, like, he's going to be a guy I'm probably shooting for in a ton of in the 2 startups I do, or the 30. But he's a guy that I'm going to be looking at because I think people are going to undervalue him because there's just this narrative about him being so bad. And maybe he didn't play great, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, but still QB 8, like, people were saying, like, I drafted him QB2 in a startup, and people were like, oh, man, you must regret that. How can I regret that? He played terribly, and I got QB 8 out of him. Like, yeah,
but to be fair, he was QB 12 through 12 weeks. He had that really nice finish to the season, but there were some weeks where he was, you know, outside of the top 15, 16 quarterbacks, and you were starting him. So, but I mean, I understand people saying you might be disappointed. I think that what we saw this year was his floor. You know, I think he's going to get a little bit more volume. I don't know that he's ever going to throw 480, 500 times, but, you know, I don't think 380 times is within the realm of possibility to be consistent, you know, consistently that low. So I think we're going to see a little bit more volume. The rushing is there. He's going to have to become a better passer. Otherwise, he's not going to be in the league in 6 or 7 years because he won't be able to run like this forever. He'll look like Cam Newton hobbling around. So.
Well, and I think the disconnect too, Bill, is that we saw what he did last year, and we just expected those numbers to keep repeating themselves. And I'm saying we as like the fantasy community, like we just expected that was going to be his baseline and maybe not his ceiling. And I think that's where that disconnect comes, where it's like, well, he had a terrible season because he didn't do that again. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And I think that's where there's maybe like an issue with the industry. Like people are looking at failure as not meeting where the person was drafted. And
right.
There's got to be a range that you expect out of a player. It's not every year isn't going to be like if you're not Travis Kelce, you're going to have a ceiling and a floor. Kelce has a ceiling only apparently. But like everybody else has a ceiling and a floor, and you have to have. There's gonna be years where he hit the floor this year, but would anybody be stunned if he ends up QB2 next year? Like I wouldn't be stunned. Lamar, that is.
No,
not Kelce.
I mean, he's still good.
I will be super.
He could be the QB2 next year. You just never know. This guy's amazing.
He's actually probably the backup quarterback in Kansas City. They just don't put it on the depth chart.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, Chad Henne, sure. Like, write his name in today.
It ain't Chad Henne, who was a linebacker when he came into college.
But you know what? I think we do this. I mean, I don't think we also limit that kind of thinking to just the quarterback position. And, a guy I'm going to bring up is another Dallas Cowboy. I know everyone's going to be like, but we're doing this with Zeke too, where we're kind of like, Zeke is washed. Zeke is done for. Zeke isn't the guy anymore. And it's like Dak went down. There was some Ben DiNucci in there, some Garrett Gilbert. The line was jacked up, and he still finished as an RB1, even with kind of all of that going on. And when Dak was in there, he was like RB2 or RB3.
RB2 through the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, but hold on a minute, because so much of that was based on receiving. I mean, he had 23 receptions in his first 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
How many passes is Dak going to throw next year? Is it going to be record
8,000?
Is it going to be record pace? He's going to be on pace to throw 6,200 yards or whatever again. I mean, I think there has to be some regression in the passing game. So I don't think that what we saw from Zeke in terms of his volume is replicable over the course of a full season. So I think we have to temper expectations a little bit there.
So I actually have 2 arguments for that. One is, are we making an assumption that the defense is going to be so much better that Dak doesn't have to throw 1,000 times a game? Because, I mean, yeah, you can bring in some draft picks, you can bring in some free agents, but that defense was on pace for most of the season to be one of the worst defenses in NFL history. So to just say that they're going to turn into a middle-of-the-pack defense in one offseason, I think is a tough ask, if anything. And the second argument to that is you may be right about replicating, what did you say, 24 receptions in the first 5 weeks?
23,
but we've seen Zeke be a top 3 running back without doing all of that. So we know that he has that ability. I just think we're really discounting him because he was on a team filled with injuries, and towards the end of the season, he was dealing with his own injury. And now all of a sudden we're just like, he's not good anymore. And it's like, I don't think he's like 24-year-old Zeke good anymore, but I also don't think he's like, hey, he'll be lucky if he's an RB1 this year, which is what a lot of the community is going with right now.
See, I think, and sorry, because it's just going to be me and Josh going back and forth on this one. You guys just hang out for a minute, Bill and Scott. But all right, so Dak on pace for 804 attempts in the first 4 games. There's no way. There's just no way. Like,
I agree with that.
650 is probably more reasonable. That's what 15% drop, 18% drop. I don't feel like doing math.
Well,
But-
I don't think if he had played 16, he was going to have 800
No, clearly
passing
not.
attempts. So, I mean,
No, that's a 19% drop. So if you're talking about that taking off 1 out of 5 of everything in the passing game, 20% of everything basically, that's a pretty big drop. The only thing about Zeke is when he first came into the league, he was so explosive. He was breaking off 15, 20-yard runs on the reg. And man, we just haven't seen that in the last 2 years. We didn't see it last year and certainly not this year. I know there were a bunch of injuries and the offense was not a DAC offense. But I mean, still, you expect him to break off a run every now and then, and he just wasn't. So,
and I'm not arguing the point that I think Zeke is going to be top 3 in 2021.
Right.
But I will argue the point that citing health, he'll be top 8.
that's fair. That's fair.
People are saying like he won't be top 15, and I'm like, and I'm just kind of
Somewhere
putting
in the
this
middle.
all together because there's this disconnect for some reason where like it's the same thing with Lamar. Like we saw this excellence last year, and we just assumed that was going to be his baseline for the rest of his career, and we have to realize that, hey, like no offense, Lamar is also not throwing to, Allen Robinson and Julio Jones. I mean, he's got San Bernardino Brown, he's got, the ghost of Willie Snead. I don't even know who else he's throwing. I mean,
Hallmark Brown.
48-year-old Des Bryant.
Hey, he's got Hallmark Brown out there.
Yeah, San Bernardino Brown. Yeah, it's like kind of close to Hollywood, but it's not really Hollywood. Let's face it, like San Bernardino Brown. But like, I mean, and so a lot of times we mock Lamar for his throwing prowess, and we're like, but wait a minute. I mean, are you telling me? And I'll bring up the Cowboys. If you're telling me that he's throwing to CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup, that his throwing isn't better, like, come on, like he's. Like, I can't even name the third receiver in Baltimore. That's how bad their receiving core is.
I think it's Miles Boykin. Good luck with that.
First of all, that sounds like someone that works at your local Popeyes. Miles Boykin. I don't even believe that's a real NFL player. Devin Duvernay. I'm pretty sure.
When was the last time you guys ate Popeyes? Have you ever had Popeyes?
Yesterday,
I love Popeyes. One just opened up in my town.
I was exhausted one night and was craving a Popeyes chicken sandwich and actually went to Hardee's. Like I pulled it. I was driving home.
Mushrooms will do that.
I was driving home real late one night, and everything along I-55 North in Mississippi is closed at 8:30. I swear, it's like the most dead area in the world. And I was tired. I'd worked like 13 hours, and I just pulled off, thinking, "All right, I'm gonna go down to Hardee's or down to Popeyes," and just pulled right into the Hardee's and ordered a chicken sandwich and a burger and didn't think twice about, I got a burger at Popeyes. I didn't even realize it until I got home and I looked at the cup and was like, that's a Hardee's cup. I was so tired I couldn't even taste it. Man, it's pitiful.
He was running, by the way, down the interstate. So he doesn't even have a car. It's crazy.
Got to get to work somehow.
Nuts, man.
God bless you. I hope one day I can grow up and be just like you. All right, so now that we spent 40 minutes talking about
the Dallas Cowboys,
Lamar and Zeke, and hey, America's team. God bless.
Oh my God! Just shoot me. Can you imagine doing a podcast with a Cowboys fan?
No, that's.
Listen, you were over here ready to jump off a bridge talking about the Lions. At least I can get excited about my team. Jesus, we have to. You have her on suicide watch.
I'm gonna go get my Xanax.
I'm really trying to figure out how you get excited about the Cowboys, though. That's the most.
They have exciting players.
Yeah,
they have a horrible coach, but that's besides the point.
Scott, can't argue that.
Yeah,
don't even want to argue that because I wouldn't have any facts to support my argument.
I'm actually grateful for McCarthy because the Packers would have had so many more Super Bowls without him. So thank you, McCarthy.
All right, so it looks like Trent B got a question for us. So Josh Allen, Diggs, Zeke, Keenan Allen, Mixon. Leaning towards Zeke and Diggs, full PPR, get last pick. Can't keep two of the same position. All right, so this is a keeper question. So this is kind of interesting. So you have Allen, Diggs, Zeke, Keenan Allen, and Mixon. You get to keep two, but they can't be from the same position. And this is a PPR question. So
we're assuming one quarterback then.
I think I'm assuming one quarterback as well. Trent,
Yeah.
if we're wrong, just type Superflex in there and we'll know. But assuming one quarterback, I mean Diggs is definitely. I mean, is anyone going to argue
Zeke
that?
are my answer.
I think he's on the right track here. Zeke and Diggs makes sense.
If you have Joe Mixon, like he is probably a guy like I'm looking to move this offseason because there's still some value there. But like he's not like he looks good, but he gets hurt every year, and like that's my concern. Like if he has another year of terribleness or injury, like you have literally zero value left.
Yeah, if he gets injured again, you're not moving him for anything worth anything. I mean, you'll be moving him for the Devin Duvernays of the world. It's going to be so bad.
All right. So, guys, answer a question for me because I really don't know. What is Mixon worth at this point?
I think people are going to want early first for him if they own him.
Wow.
And I think that I'm willing to pay a late first.
Okay.
I'm thinking like 108, 109, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think and I always assume Superflex. So yeah, in that case, yeah, it's not a real strong running back class. So, I mean, not that necessarily matters, but yeah, late first, I'd still be willing to pay. I honestly think you could make a profit on him by paying a late first right now, as long as you sell him before he gets hurt again. But if he comes out with a healthy Burrow and that offense gets rolling the first few games, maybe he can help you win a ship, or maybe you can sell him for a profit. Get yourself one of those young backs we talked about earlier, like a Swift or something like that.
I always like buying depressed value running backs at the end of a season, early in the off season, and then flipping them as soon as they do anything. Whether
you mean like Zeke?
I don't think that Zeke's value is that depressed.
It is.
Oh, it is.
It is.
It is.
I think everyone who owns Zeke, though, it's one of those things where if you don't own Zeke, you're like, oh, he's worthless. But if you own Zeke, you're like, I love Zeke. I got him for a reason, that kind of thing. The people always talk about, their value is depressed. Michael Gallup's value is depressed. Well, if you own Michael Gallup, you're not like, oh, I'm going to sell him for the cheap,
Yeah, I think that there's like a lot of you're going to encounter that in any player, right? The owner always overvalues who they have, but at the same time, I think that there's a pretty high percentage of people that are willing to move off Zeke right now. And I think that's the same case with Mixon. Like, I think that it's just one of those things where, like, if you didn't move him, like, middle of this year, like, I don't think you're ever going to see the value that you could have gotten, like, in week 8, let's say. But he's definitely a guy that might not be worth, or maybe worth buying right now, just because he is. There's going to be at least, if you have 10 leagues, there's probably 6 leagues where the guy's willing to move him right now, and that's the ones that and that, again, Scott and we were all talking before the show about having a ton of leagues. That's what makes this better. When you have a lot of leagues, you can find those leagues where people are willing to move a player, whereas if you're in 1 or 2, you might be SOL just because nobody wants to move that particular player. Now I'm just tangenting, but like, point being, that's the correct move, Justin, just in buying these depressed players, because there's so much information we don't know, and especially with the draft day and everything, like having no idea of who's getting added to teams and that sort of thing. So don't buy the high value guys, buy the guys who have depressed value right now.
And the other part of that is that once they start the season, it only takes one injury, even if someone is drafted. I did this with Rojo last year. I bought him in January, sold him in, I think it was probably September, and I made a huge profit on him. And I bring him up like all the time. It's just you buy those guys that are cheap. You buy them cheap. They only need one opportunity. Look at the running backs that ended up having value this year: Salvin Ahmed and Miles it's crazy how many running backs we had that hit the field and produced, and you were able to sell. A couple years ago, I sold Brian Hill before he played a game for a second.
I did too.
He was never going to be anything, but he got an opportunity, and all it takes is perceived value. It doesn't take actual production for running backs. It takes actual production for wide receivers. You never trade for a wide receiver like, it looks like two people went down and he's going to get some opportunity. No one trades anything of value for that guy until you see him on the field. But running backs, any perceived value is a boost in the trade market.
There you go. I'm glad you guys helped me out with that. I mean, I'm not buying Joe Mixon, but I was just curious. So.
Are you buying Zeke?
I'm
actually not. I'm not out there buying Zeke. Not right now, anyway, because I think what people are asking for are probably picks. I mean, probably the guy with Zeke on his team probably struggled. I mean, yeah.
What are you guys paying for Zeke right now?
I paid Monty in a second at the.
I love that deal.
Were you were not a contender?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. That's a perfect trade.
My plan is fully to sell Zeke. I have no interest in using him or keeping him long term. I'm just going to flip him. I just wanted to get out from Monty. Honestly, I bought a ton of Monty before last season. I saw an opportunity for him this year, just knowing how he was so underutilized year one under the horrible play calling of Matt Nagy. And it worked out. Once Laser took over, he took off. Boom, I sold a couple shares.
Good news. Matt Nagy's back. Hey.
Great news.
Great news.
Nagy and Ryan Pace are back.
Hopefully Trubisky is too.
In Chicago land. Yeah.
The triumvirate of idiots. Yes.
Hey, you can't get mad at Mitch Trubisky. No one asked him to take him number 2. That guy's just a victim of circumstance. He's just like, listen, you guys picked me and then saddled me with Pace and Nagy. So
it could be worse. You could have Rex Grossman back there again.
I would take sexy Rexy in a heartbeat.
Rex Grossman is a legend, man. He was dealing that 1 year.
I got some stories about that dude, but I don't think they're appropriate for tonight's show.
You can find some videos
after hours.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So 20% off the after hours video. Promo code. We don't know
Sexy
what
Rexy.
we're doing. Oh man, that is a good one. All right, so let's get to this one. This is from our friend of the show, Jerry O'Shea.
Jerry.
At Jerry Shea FF, got an offer of Barkley for Jefferson and Gesicki, Dynasty League Superflex, tight end premium, 12 teams. He says his team is middle of the pack. Any help would be great. I have this trade very close and should go counter. I know. I have the Jefferson side. So why don't we start with Bill here? Bill, are you taking Saquon or are you taking Jefferson and Gesicki?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm probably going to take Saquon because I think before the season starts, his value is going to be stupid high. It's just like that's what happens with running backs, and people forget about the year that he missed and the struggles with the line and all that kind of 2.8 yards per carry type stuff, and they're just excited for this year. So just value. This is truly a value play. I would rather have Justin Jefferson on my team long term, but just the value of Saquon, I'll take that right now.
All right, Justin, Saquon or the package?
I'm still on the Saquon side, and I love Justin Jefferson. I almost said Jordan Jefferson. I'm like, okay, stuck on the LSU fam there. I do love Justin Jefferson. He was one of my go-to, got to get him rookies last year, which paid off. But I think there's going to be some regression in the statistical side of that, and I think
Kirk Cousins.
I think Saquon, his value is only going to go up. It's just there's no way unless he gets hurt again. And I don't.
Dude, he's still 23. Like
Right.
he's so young.
He's a baby. So
Yeah.
he was so easy to acquire mid-season too. I mean, it was crazy. People that thought that they were contenders and still had Barkley 2 or 3 weeks after the injury, his price even went down further because they were like, man, I've got to make a move because here I am at 5-2 or whatever, and I can try and make a run. Let me go ahead and send off my asset that I have that's not doing me any good. So I made one of the trades I made was Swift, Tyler Boyd, and I don't know, some throw in for Barkley in a league where I was rebuilding and had a bunch of picks already. I felt good about that. I still feel good about that. And I love DeAndre Swift, but I think there's just in terms of value, there's a tier that separates the two. And I think it kind of plays that way here too, where Jordan Jefferson, geez, and pizzas at 2008 LSU, where Justin Jefferson is a high-end asset, but there's a tier gap there between him and Saquon, and Gesicki doesn't make that difference up.
So I'll go to you, Scott, before Justin makes another George Jefferson reference. Go ahead, Scott. Who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give up a guy like Jefferson. But I think if you're going to do it, then you got to get a top guy. And so Barkley is the type of guy that you would give him up for. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, if you're doing a startup right now, I mean, who's going first? You know, I mean, there's your answer. It's going to be Barkley. I mean, the guy's going to come back. I mean, who's the OC for the New York Giants right now? Speaking of terrible head coaches, Jason Garrett, but he
a future head coach
can run an offense though. And I know you didn't see it this year, but honestly, if he uses Barkley like he used Zeke back in the day, or any of those, you know, DeMarco Murray or any number of guys back in the day when Garrett was running that Dallas offense, oh man, Barkley is going to have a big year and his value is going to come back through the roof. So, especially with a lot of question marks around the running back position right now. So yeah, it would be tough to give up Jefferson. And notice how we all kind of ignored Gesicki, you know, but tight end premium, I mean, he has some value, obviously. But I don't know. Now, this thread did go further, and Jerry had mentioned that he really does need a quarterback on his roster. So if he can use Jefferson to get a quarterback, that would really be the way to go for his particular roster. I would try to move Jefferson for a quarterback versus Barkley. But this trade straight up in a vacuum, yeah, I'm taking Barkley.
All right, cool. So let's flip it a little bit for Jerry now, because Scott brought up something interesting, and I want to dive into it a little bit. What level of quarterback do you think Justin Jefferson can get you in a super flex? And anybody can jump in on this one.
I don't think it's going to be any of the big eight. If
it shouldn't be.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But it could. People are nuts over JJ right now, man.
That's true. That's
crazy about this kid. And I don't blame them, but like, man, I don't know. You might be able to.
So, Justin, who was number 8 in your rankings?
It was Dak.
Dak.
No way I'm picking Dak for Justin Jefferson.
And who was 7?
Lawrence. Would I trade the 101 for
right
Jefferson? No.
Right. And you're not getting Herbert and then forget the top 5.
No, not even close. And I don't even know if I would do Burrow. I might do Wilson if it was Jefferson and something. But
what if he has like Wilson and Jefferson? Does that get you 101? Does that get you Dak? Does that get you Herbert?
Wait. Are you trading Wilson and Jefferson?
Yeah.
Any of the top 8?
Any.
Wait. Any of the top 8 outside of Mahomes? Mahomes I'd have to have something else. But yeah, I think Wilson is not that far off of any of those guys for me.
Right.
Jefferson makes.
Did you have him at 12? Is that where you said you had Russ?
I have him at 10. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Burrow and Wilson round out my top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think you seriously have to consider, like Justin said, everybody, except Mahomes, obviously, at that point. But I'm trying to think of like a guy that like JJ straight up for QB, where you're kind of like
drops really quickly when you get past that. You get Aaron Rodgers, who I don't know if you want to take on the aging Aaron Rodgers. Tua, Tannehill, Stafford, Goff, Wentz, Ryan. I don't. This is all December ADP off of DLF, but it drops quick.
Yeah.
So I'm
Like,
on
there
the
may not be a
Trade
middle
Finder,
ground.
on the DLF Trade Finder, and there's a Jared Goff, Justin Jefferson for Josh Allen, Antonio Brown.
whoa.
Or
Okay.
Justin Jefferson and Garoppolo for Aaron Rodgers. But that was probably that's after the season.
Really, somebody overpaid for Rodgers with that.
Green Bay fan sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what else that includes.
Yeah, so you're right, Justin. It's kind of a weird. Kind of you hit that top 10, and then it's just kind of like Justin Jefferson is more valuable than everyone else. So it's almost like you got to package Jefferson and another asset to try to get into the top 10 in order to kind of make it even. So maybe that's the play, Jerry. You find maybe you have a Goff or a Kirk Cousins, and you package JJ and one of those guys and try to move up and get yourself a Dak or a Herbert or something like that.
Or on the flip side, if he just needs a body at quarterback, maybe he can go like Jefferson for Baker plus, something like that. Get a young QB with some upside. I know Baker had that end of the season run that's probably going to boost his value a little bit. But, I mean, maybe he gets Baker and then, I don't know, someone like Jalen Reagor or maybe even shoots higher with like a DJ Chark, something like that.
Yeah, try to buy yourself up as many of those Jacksonville Jaguars as you can with.
T-Law's going to spread that ball, guys. Just saying.
And you know what?
You do have him as QB7.
I wouldn't be shocked if Jacksonville uses either that second first-round pick they have or that top of the second-round pick and grab another pass-catching weapon, whether it's, maybe the tight end Freiermuth out of Penn State, or they get, one of these other receivers that are going to be there late first, early second, and give Lawrence another weapon to sling it out to. Because, they have some guys there. Obviously they have Chark, they have Chenault. Colin Johnson kind of started coming on a little bit at the end of the year, and if they throw another weapon out there, I would almost say they should go for the tight end just because, Tyler Eifert ain't it, but,
not even close.
But that could be fun, whether maybe they go offensive tackle with that second first and then, or flip it, whatever. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence is gonna be fun out there. Just hoping that they don't pick up Urban Meyer to ruin the kid.
Well, that might be the best thing to happen to him, to be honest. Like,
Urban Meyer will be going like 3 years anyway. Urban will have like a medical emergency and he'll have to retire again.
No, that's
to get more
after
money
the
somewhere
violations
else.
start catching up.
Yeah.
Once Goodell gets on his ass, he's guys, I got to retire.
Ooh, bad back. I'm out.
Something we can all agree on.
He's like, oh gosh, these stress. Let me take that Ohio State job. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Ryan Day didn't look too good in that national championship, did he? So, all right. So we've been going for about an hour and 5 minutes here. So I think we've hit hit all the high notes, as I like to say, and we're gonna let these guys send us out. Why don't we start with you, Justin? Let everybody know where they can find you, what you're doing, and where you're at.
You can find me on Twitter at RunDFF and the Dynasty Hot Sauce Podcast. Look us up. Me and Larry Monkey, we're just trying to have a good time. it's sober Larry season, so it's kind of weird. Don't worry, drunk Larry's coming back, so we'll kick it right back into what it is. But
Boo.
Bill misses drunk Larry already. But so catch us over there, and that's about it.
And if you aren't listening to the hot sauce, it's legit one of just the most fun, just two guys just like talking football, like you talk about football with your best friend.
I mean, I lounge on the couch just like this for that. I mean, look, if you can't get comfy doing a podcast, there's no point in doing it. That's my thing.
Justin likes getting all the ladies sprung with his couch laying, so hope the wife's not in the background. I
locked her in the bedroom. It's cool.
All right, before the cops come, Scott, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, where you're at, and what you're doing?
Yes, sir. I am on Twitter at Scott_Sidlo. Justin and I will be hosting a bunch more Trade Addicts here over the next few months. We'll be hopefully reprising our incredible draft special that we did last year, kind of put us on the map. So I think we're going to be hosting next week, but we've got a bunch coming up here. So always good to check that one out. And also the Dynasty Roast we're kind of getting into during the season. It's not really a thing during the season, but this time of year, and as we start getting into drafts and all that, we start breaking down people's leagues and all that sorts of fun stuff. So we're going to have some new things with that. Got a website going up and some other stuff there. So we will be dropping some info on that sometime soon.
Nice.
And Scott, just in case people don't know, tell them a little bit about the draft thing you did last year.
Yeah, so Trade Addicts is exactly what it is, right? It's all about trades, but you also need to know who's coming in. What are these rookies looking like? Do we want to trade these draft picks? Do we want to trade for vets? And so Justin and I just did a full breakdown of pretty much every relevant player that came in, every move that happened. We gave a lot of recommendations. We did our rankings. We frankly did very well last year, surprisingly. I mean, it's only been 1 year. You can't really.
Why's it got to be surprisingly? Come on, man.
You can't fully judge the rankings. It's only been one season. It is Dynasty.
Bullshit. You guys did fantastic. You're the best. Everybody pay attention to what these guys have to say.
Yeah, Scott's never played in a league with me, obviously, because I won a league, and guess what? I'm the best player ever in the history of that league. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care what happened before or what happens after. I'm the best forever.
That's right. That's right.
Scott said.
But yeah, I mean, we appreciate you guys coming on. I mean, you guys are both super smart, super funny, super good at what you guys do, and it was good to pick your brains a little bit. It was good to get the best of Justin in the Zeke argument because he's a smart guy. So anytime I can beat a smart guy in a conversation, I pat myself on the back. Bill, no one asked you. Scott agreed with me, and he's the smarter one. So I'm going with that.
He is the smarter one. I concede.
So we want to on that note, we want to. Thank you guys. Everybody that was in the chat, it was awesome. Two Drink was in there. Lindsay Kennedy was in there. We got a question from Trent B, which was cool because it got us thinking a little bit about keeper, which we sometimes aren't always. We don't have our keeper hats on, so that was cool. Remember too, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click that like button, click subscribe, so you know when we go live. Maybe Justin and Scott will reprise their draft thing live this year. Who knows? I'll put them on the spot, just because, that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do. So if you click the bell and subscribe, you're going to know when those smart guys go live so that you can soak up all of their knowledge. And if you're listening in podcast form, appreciate you guys too. We've been talking, mostly me, for an hour and 10 minutes now. You guys could literally be doing anything else, but you took the time to listen to us, and we appreciate that. So, Bill, on that note, we are out of